Hi friends, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a bit of a recap and review of the last 4 to 6 months of new product launches that we've had here at Seint, plus a little bit of inspo on how you can combine the different products that you've gotten from these different releases to create endless makeup looks. There has been so many new things that have come out, dating all the way back to the holiday season when we got new lash products, right up until yesterday when we launched the Sugar and Cream collection, new lip tints, the new lip whip. So today we're gonna create a berry toned look on one side of the face and more of a peachy, soft focus look on the other, combining products from the launches from the last handful of months. So if you think that's a video that you would be interested in, I'd love if you stick around and hang out with me. And as always, if you find value in being a member of this channel, please, if you're inclined, give that video a thumbs up so that you can help our channel grow and we can expand our community. Without further ado, let's jump in. The only way to start this video is with a face application. So let's dig into a little bit of color correction. So I'm gonna go ahead and tap a little bit onto the brush, and I'm going to buff and disperse this very softly over any of the areas that you see darkness on the skin. So for me, that's quite a bit of places. I have this darkness under my eyes, the area on top and around the nose, a little bit here on the side. And then we're gonna grab a bigger brush and we're gonna go ahead and negate some of the redness and the hyperpigmentation that you see on the cheeks. So for me, my chin, my nose, my under eyes tend to be the darkest, and then my cheeks tend to be the most red. Grabbing the small side of the blush and bronzer brush, now I'm just gonna cover those larger areas, this circular motion. And for added coverage, I'm always gonna stipple. This is just my Mango color corrector. I do all of my matches customized. So if you're new to my channel, I do customized makeup matches where we will figure out, do you need a color corrector? What would be a great foundation shade for you? What's gonna help brighten your under eyes without emphasizing that texture? And in the description box below is my color match. While we are here, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to that blend brush. We're gonna do some pretty eyeshadow looks today, but first I'm gonna color correct my eyes. If you've ever had an issue with your eyeshadow showing up true to tone and you have some discoloration on the lids, go ahead and color correct your eyelids or use a color correcting eye primer. I can link one below that works really well. It's the MAC Paint Pot. My shade preference is soft ochre, but there are definitely different shades that you can choose from. But if you are a one compact kind of girly, you can do this all from your one compact. All right, let's move on to our main foundation shade. Back to that blush and bronzer. I'm gonna have to wiggle mine around because I need to melt that tin down to get better disbursement, but we're just gonna wiggle this in here. And now we're gonna press. Once we've put our color corrector down, we don't wanna move it. So we're gonna press all over. Unlike what you see a lot of times on social media, my preference is not to do this all in one layer because of the discoloration that I have on my skin. So I color correct my skin first, and then I press my main highlight shade over top. And it's the combination of the color corrector down first with my main highlight pressed on top that's gonna give me a skin tone match. And it's gonna take care of that discoloration. It's gonna help my makeup last all day. If there's anything I've learned about this makeup, if you want it to last all day and you don't want to see your discoloration start popping through throughout the day, color correct your darkest points first. Then go ahead and put your main highlight right down over top. And we're gonna use our perfector sponge here in a minute to make sure that we have a good seamless blend. I'm gonna go back to the small end of my blend brush, and now I put that color corrector on my eyes. I'm gonna press my main shade on top to get a skin tone match for my eyelids. I'm using the smaller end of the blend brush. You can use the small end of the detail brush around these smaller areas to press on where I color corrected. That big brush was too big for under the eyes, and I don't want to move what I've already done because I specifically only color corrected where I needed it. So we're not swirling it all together, we're just pressing it on top. Now I do have this acne spot right here. The spot brush is this small pencil tip brush that I like to use. It's my color corrector. Flip it over, main highlight shade, press it on top just to get a little bit of added coverage anywhere that I might have some scarring or more depth to my discoloration. We have some over here. These are hormonal acne scars. Tapping main highlight over top. Making sure we are blended out under the eye. We don't want creasing, so we want to be light-handed but get adequate coverage by building in thin layers. I do have a dark spot right here. You can always build up your coverage. That was my color corrector. This is my main highlight. If it ever starts to feel heavy, make sure you have your perfector sponge ready to go. Moving on to contour, I'm grabbing the detail brush and I'm gonna contour in 2 different shades. I am using the side of the brush and I'm pouncing in because our contour is drier and it's meant to be drier so that it stays where you put it. On this side of my face, I'm using Astoria. So my main highlight shade is Sandy and I have redness in my cheeks. So because I have redness in my cheeks, I select a cooler contour at my depth. And again, that's Astoria over here. And I'm just pressing on the top of the cheekbone and then flicking up to diffuse that to start to create that shadow. I'm gonna use that same side of the brush around the forehead. We contour for dimension, and in traditional makeup, Seint or other, your contour is meant to be a little bit ashier, not gray, but a little bit ashier in order to create shadow, where your bronzer is meant to be a little bit more warm in order to add that sun-kissed glow. So they do different things and they go in similar places, just going underneath the jawline, because again, we're sculpting that jawline. Pull it down the neck. I'm gonna flip my brush to the other side, and on this side is Cedar. Also good for my depth, but it is a little bit warmer. So if you're using Astoria and you're having a difficult time blending, and you want something just a tinge easier or a tinge warmer, and since we're doing a little bit of a warmer, more neutral look on this side, I figured we would use Cedar. Both work really well, and it's not so warm that it's going to exacerbate any form of redness as long as you have color corrected the redness in your cheeks first. That's why I believe in the building up in thin layers. It's what you see professional makeup artists doing. They build up in thin layers to get the best coverage versus putting one color really heavy in one location trying to get coverage. Does that make sense? So we color correct very thin, we add our main highlight shade very thin, and then we add some contour, and our contours do give coverage, which is awesome. They are not sheer, so it's going to add to your overall coverage behind the ear, down the jawline. And these aren't so different that they won't work with the same skin tone. They totally do. They're just different enough that you can kind of create something just a little bit cooler here and just a little bit warmer here. Now I'm gonna take that small end of my detail brush, and this right here is my brightening shade. And all I'm gonna do is clean up that edge just a little bit to make sure that that looks a little bit more sculpted. And I'll diffuse it together with my perfector. Same thing here. So if you ever get too low, remember the really cool thing about creams is that they're emollient, they're gonna keep blending, so you don't have to worry about it drying down, you don't have to work fast, you have all the time that you need. So now we've chiseled that out a little bit, and let's go to the center of the face. Small end here, and let's just do a little bit between the brows. The purpose of highlight and contour is to add dimension with that contour, sculpt the face, add brightness with your brightening shade. People are used to calling their lightest shade their concealer. We conceal here in Sami's world with our color corrector. This is really just for adding brightness to the center so that when people look at you, they're drawn to the center of the face. You've already gotten your coverage, or I should say your concealing effect from your color corrector. Now, do you get additional coverage with this? Definitely, because all of our highlights and contours provide coverage. But we're not putting this directly under the eye without a color corrector. Like you see a lot of times, social media can be so deceiving. People want to show you how quick it is and the concept of highlight and contour, and sometimes it creates problems when you're showing things but maybe not explaining or not fully showing, which is why I want to make sure that I show you and teach you so that on any given day you can transform your makeup game, okay? So to brighten the under eye, I'm gonna go in this area right here, and I'm just gonna tap a little bit underneath where I have that eye bag. I added my color corrector and my main highlight, so everything is skin tone neutral. And now this is just to brighten the center of the face and provide a little bit of added coverage without going directly onto those dark circles, because we already took care of that. When you go directly onto the dark circles with a super light color, you don't really get the coverage that you're looking for, and it doesn't last when it comes to your Seint foundation. That's why we color correct the deepest points. I know I've said that a couple times, but it's just a different concept and a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. If you're not new to my channel, you know I swear by the Perfector. I run this under cold water, I squeeze it out, I leave it in a microfiber cloth while I'm doing my hair and while I'm doing my makeup. And then after I do color corrector, main highlight, contour, and my brightener, now I'm gonna pounce this all over the skin. It's gonna do a couple things. It's going to remove any excess. So when you are layering, which again, layering is what's gonna give you the best coverage and longevity, thin layers, not heavy ones, just thin little layers. This is gonna help you remove any excess, but it's also gonna act kind of like your Photoshop finish. I had one client whose artist was no longer with Seint that found me on YouTube, and she's like, oh my gosh, I started using the Perfector and I felt like my makeup looked like it had a filter versus before when it was sitting in fine lines and wrinkles and feeling a little bit heavy. And I was like, I know. So after I use my Perfector, now I'm gonna have a really skin-like finish. Nothing feels too heavy, but I am gonna do one final assessment. And I think we're good. We're going for just light to medium coverage today, and I think we've achieved it. Before we move on to the fun part and we start to create this look, I'm gonna take my Vanilla Dust setting powder. This is a translucent setting powder, and I'm just going to press the powder brush into the translucent setting powder, and I'm going to set my under eyes. So right after I use my Perfector, I can also go in with my finger if I need to, before anything's gonna start to settle. Because remember, cream makeup doesn't set. It's always going to be emollient. You're always going to be able to work with it. If you wanna set it into place and blur it a little bit more, reduce any shine, areas that you might be oily, you're gonna wanna use the Vanilla Dust or your favorite translucent setting powder. I use it in areas that I'm prone to creasing, which is gonna be under my eyes, around my smile lines, and I like to do this at this point before my makeup starts to move. Your makeup is always gonna find its way to the lowest point on the face. It's just kind of the nature of our face having texture and fine lines and wrinkles. So before it starts to move, even though I was light-handed, this is the step I like to do. And it's just one little press at a time. Less is more, build up if you need it. Now, where I'm gonna be generous and really get in there is on the eyes. So I put creams on the eyes because I wanted to color correct my eyelids and get a really nice base going. However, because I have mature eyelids, that cream is going to migrate, and I'm using this in lieu of a primer. So if you have oily eyelids, mature eyelids, whatever it might be, and you plan on using powder on the eyes, after your primer, after creams, go ahead and generously tap on a powder so that you get a really nice blend, but you've also set your primer, your color corrector, anything else you might have put on the eyelids into place. Okay, let's grab our makeup. Well, we had a slight time lapse as I was getting ready to film the fun part, the makeup looks. An alarm went off on my phone and I realized I needed to take my dog to the vet in 30 minutes to get some stitches removed. We had a little tumor it's come back perfectly fine. We're all good. But my poor dog has been in a cone for 3 weeks. So 2 hours has lapsed, and I'm guessing when I go to edit this all together, the lighting is going to look slightly different based on the position of the sun. So if you're watching this thinking, what in the actual, yes, it's me, I'm the problem. But it's time. Let's do some makeup. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with brows, and I'm gonna wipe off my brows because I tend to get some of my highlight on there when I color correct my eyes. And I'm gonna do 2 different brow products, brow looks and lash looks, just so that you can see the different products that we have and what options are available to you. On this side here, since we're doing the more subtle brow, I'm gonna use the brow wax from our actual palette collection. So we have a brow wax. It operates more like a brow soap, so you have to activate it. So that was my setting spray, and I just activate it, put it on my spoolie, and then work that into the brow to really shape and frame the eye. I would say compared to the Archangel, which is the brow laminating product, this one you wanna take out. You do wanna wipe off the wand just because it can give a lot of product and it is a less is more. You need very little. So I would say based on the brush of this one operates more like a lamination tool. I find that I get a little bit of a stronger brow hold, and this one is probably better for folks that have really dark brows. What I have noticed, and this isn't bothersome to me, but maybe my brows aren't dark enough, is because this is in the palette, sometimes you have a little bit of excess makeup that works its way in here. And if you have dark brows and you ever use a brow product and it makes your brows look kind of like foggy, I feel like that may contribute to that if you have a darker brow. So I would say the brow laminate for somebody who wants a stronger, more laminated hold, and somebody who doesn't mind or prefers a separate product, or the brow wax for somebody who has basically any shade other than like a black brow and wants it in the palette. I am still going to press this down as it starts to dry just to make sure it's laminated exactly how I want it. And because it is a less is more sort of product, it helps work through anything that may be remaining that, you don't want excess from your brow product. So I do feel like this one looks a little bit softer and this one looks a little bit more laminated. While we're talking about brows, for those of you that got the chocolates, the box of chocolates collection, one of my favorite products to use from that is the Velvet. So this is considered a contour. It would be found on the contour section, but it is very dark and it does not pull my brows brown. So I am somebody who, for whatever reason, needs something that is a little bit more on the darker, something a little bit more darker and taupey than something a little bit more warm. And if you are the same, then Velvet is an excellent product for that. I'm just using the other end of the line spoolie brush to work this through with hair-like strokes just to fill in any gaps that I have in my brows. But because it's a contour, it stays in place really nicely and just allows for those fine brow strokes. And I can fill mine in even in the front, which is a struggle for me. This is typically where brow products are gonna start to show warm on my eye. But the Velvet is an excellent, excellent choice for that. My traditional brow product that I really like that I'm gonna use on this side for more of a softer look is from Refy. This is the tinted brow gel, and this is very serum-like. It has this, I don't know, it's like this crazy round spoolie, and I really enjoy this one on the daily. I am a soft brow, but I do need to fill it in. I have very sparse brows, but do you see how this one's gonna be a little bit darker? and a little bit more of a fuller brow. Neither is right or wrong. These are just preferences. But this one is my daily preference. I would say this is something that I would lean towards if I was doing more of a going out look, or if I was going out for my anniversary. Then I do a fuller, a little bit sharper brow, and that works really well, the velvet for that. For eyes today, I'm gonna be pulling from an abundance of the collections and the releases that we had. But first I'm gonna do a little bit of balm on the lips. This is from the Mother's Day collection. This is the Mother's Day collection right here. This released yesterday. So this is available for the next, 10 or so days. But I also forgot to mention two things. Balm is what I used underneath my makeup. So when I started my makeup today, I completely forgot to tell you. I did my sunscreen, and then I added a little bit of balm underneath the eye in the finest, thinnest layer, just to add a little bit of hydration to the fine lines and wrinkles that I have underneath the eye. And I just patted it in. And then I did use my Plush and Prep Mist. This is the Plush Prep Mist. This makes a beautiful base. It has hyaluronic acid in it. It has some caffeine, so it's gonna plump the skin. It's gonna make things look a little bit more alive. So I did use both of those products first, and then I wanted to put some balm on the lips just to make sure that my lips were hydrated. That's one of the things that I do before I start my typical makeup routine, is add a lip product. So whether it's this one, or you have picked up or are picking up the lip whip, this is also amazing. I'm just using the balm because I have it here. So let's get into eyes. On this side, we're gonna do more of that berry tone. So I have some shades from the Mother's Day collection, and then I've also added in Lullaby from our traditional line. We have a couple of our pressed pigments that we're gonna use for eyeshadow, but I also wanted to do a last look at the shades of the season. These are gone the 30th. So I think on the day that this posts, this is gonna be the last chance to grab them, but I also wanna make sure if you have them, that you have ideas of how to put looks together. So let's start with Lullaby. Grabbing the eyeshadow brush, the fluffy end, and we're gonna start with Lullaby up in the crease and on the base of the hood and here in the outer corner. Then I'm going to go to the Mother's Day collection, and I'm going to grab Mama, and we are sticking with a monochromatic look. So I have some Mama, which is this soft pink on the lid, and then I have our Lullaby to kind of bring it all together and make sure that you can see my eyeshadow when my eyes are open. And then I'm gonna grab a little bit of Sis, and I'm just going to soften that look and add a little bit of reflection to the lid. And then I'm gonna grab the smudge brush. And with the smudge brush, we are going to do a little bit of Wildberry, Winterberry. Oh goodness. I'm gonna tap, 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 tap. And we're gonna build up the outer corner to add a little bit of depth. So we have this berry. It's a soft pink but berry toned look. We're gonna blend it all together. And now we've used lots of products from several of our collections. So pull out what you have and start creating some gorgeous eye looks. And now I'm going to go into my Lyra pressed pigment, and I'm gonna grab the On Point brush. Lyra is this purple, and that's what we're going to line the lid with. So I'm going to grab the On Point brush, which is so nice for any small area. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to wiggle this in to the lash line and bring it out a little bit. I just want my lashes to look a little bit fuller, give a little bit of definition to the eye without too much. Because we're doing a little bit more of a deep look on this eye, I'm going to use the Half Moon. We have the Half Moon and we have the Crescent. The Half Moon is my favorite, this one right here. The Crescent seems to work really well with people that have hooded eyes because it doesn't require as much space. I, however, really like the finish of the more dramatic arc. So I hold up my brow just to make sure. If I don't, I will pinch my hooded eye, but I do love this lash curler. Now, my first coat of mascara is always my Lash Growth Tubing Mascara. I will link this down in the description below. You can absolutely be one and done with this. It is a dual-ended brush. It is a tubing mascara. It is like skincare. So not only does it function as a good mascara, but it also has this growth serum in it that won't turn your eye a different color, which was my issue with my former lash growth serum. And I do need something. My lashes are very, very weak. This brush has two sides to it. So while you don't need anything else, if you don't want it, and this can be your mascara and your growth serum, which is why it's like skincare, you wanna use it every day. I do really like to layer my mascara. So that's gonna be layer one. And then on this side, we are going to grab the Lash Velvet. Now, full transparency, I don't love the wand on this one. This one is tricky for me as somebody with a hooded eye. This is a more challenging wand. I just feel like every time I use it, I end up getting product on my eye, or I can't get as much control as I would like. I don't have any issues with flaking or anything like that. I do have some clients that said they have to work quickly, or it dries and then it becomes a little bit more like thick than they would want it to be. I haven't experienced that, but I only typically use one coat. See, I only use one coat of this mascara because I'm using the Growth Mascara underneath, but it's not my favorite. It's also not tubing, so I really have to set my under eye well so I don't have any transfer. Where our other mascara that I like is the tubing mascara. And that one it doesn't give as much volume on its own, but in combination with the growth serum, gives great volume. It gives really good length on its own, but this one is supposed to be more for volume, which I will say it does. But it's just not my favorite. Let me go clean that up. All right, let's finish this look off. I'm gonna go to the small end of the eyeshadow brush into Lullaby, and I'm gonna halo underneath my eye in lieu of eyeliner, and to really help set that under eye. Now I'm going to go back to the On Point brush. I'm gonna grab a little bit of Lyra, fill in the outer portion of the lashes. You'll see we've kind of smoked out the eye just a little bit now. And I'm gonna grab the lash brush and tubing mascara for sure on the under eye lashes and do some lash mascara on the bottom lashes. This is the Lash Leather, which is the tubing mascara. This one's my favorite. And I'm just going to grab this brush. This is a great brush. I'm gonna add a little bit of mascara underneath. Tubing mascara so it doesn't run. And then I can use this end for those final touches. So let's go back to Sis and just do a little bit under the brow for a pop. And on that inner corner. So let me swatch these for you. We used Winterberry, Mama, Lullaby, Sis, and then Lyra as our liner for this look right here. Now let's get into this eye where we're gonna do more of our soft neutrals. So this is basic. This is gonna be from the Mother's Day collection. And we are carving out the crease, making sure that's up on the base of the hood, getting into the outer corner for a little bit of depth. Now we are on to our shades of the season, and this is Cashmere. We're gonna put this onto the base of the lid. This marbled shade is going to be so pretty with Boardwalk from the Cream and Sugar for Mother's Day. Oh, it's gonna be so pretty. I'm gonna do a little bit of Ember with the soft end. Pack that into the outer corner and feather that up. Then I'm gonna grab my smudge brush to add a little bit of Snowbird. Snowbird is from, I think I keep calling it the Mother's Day collection. It's the Mother's Day release. It's the Cream and Sugar collection. So I'm gonna put this in the outer corner the same way that we did with our Winterberry, just to add a little bit of depth. And now let's blend. Blending with the eyeshadow brush. I'm gonna grab the On Point brush for my liner for this side, and on this side I'm gonna use Santa Fe from the Pressed Pigments collection. Here we have Santa Fe. It's this beautiful, rich, kind of like caramel brown. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna work this into the lash line. Just doing the outer half to third. Oh, that looks pretty. You see that? I love these. Because they can be worn really sheer just as like a regular eyeshadow, but when you use this precise brush, they make such beautiful eyeliners. On this side, we are using the Crescent, which is our one that is a little bit more hooded eye friendly. Like I don't have to pull up on my eye for this one, and I can fit it in there, but it doesn't give me as much volume. One coat of the Tubing Lash Growth Mascara, and one coat of Lash Leather, which I really do love. I think this shows really well. Do you see how much more length and how much more of a held curl I get with the Lash Leather as opposed to the Lash Velvet? Yes, it looks like there's a little bit more volume here, but this is the lesser of the two eyelash curlers. And this combination of the Tubing Mascara with the Growth Serum versus the Lash Velvet with the Growth Serum, like I just think that this looks wildly long for my eyelashes, so I'm a huge fan. When you have small eyelashes and like lash regrowth is a problem, you know how amazing it is when you find something that actually like helps not only with growth, but like with volume and holding a curl. And that combo, I think, does an excellent job. Okay, so we're adding basic underneath the eye, just a halo. Add a little bit of Ember. Just pulling this all together. To Santa Fe, which is our liner, outer corner. And then blend, add mascara. Underneath the brow bone on this one, I'm gonna go with a little bit of our cashmere. Just gonna do it softly. Add a little pop and a little bit on the inner corner. And that's gonna be our second. Hopefully these are well blended. Doing them in the camera can be a little tricky. Okay, so between the berries and these warm neutrals, which way are you guys leaning so far? Let's do a review. I swatched this eye look over here. So we have basic, cashmere, Ember, Snowbird, and Santa Fe. So while these were released in collections, I do believe that they are all available individual to purchase if there is a shade that you see, with the exception possibly, depending on when you watch this, of the shades of the season. That could be gone by the time you see this. So I believe the 30th is the last day that they will be around. I'm adding a little bit of my brightener to clean up that outer edge of both eyes. So you don't have to worry if you're a little bit sloppy with your makeup. you can soften that edge right up and clean it up with your brightening shade. And since we still have to do our bronzer and our lip and cheek, this will all just blend together really nicely. All right, let's pat this out. No harsh lines with our perfector that I had to re-dampen since I've been gone. And let's do some bronzer. Now, I have pulled again from the Chocolates Contour Collection, and I will hold true that I just don't think Velvet serves as much of a good contour for anybody. It is really warm, and I love it. Swirl it in. Your tin will be double this size. I have one from way back in the day, but I really enjoy it for kind of that like deep sun-kissed bronzer. It has less sheen than our other bronzers, but I thought what a beautiful way to tie in this berry look then with Velvet from that collection. If you are looking for it for a bronzer currently, it will be found on the contours page, but it's not a contour. So let's add Velvet to our swatches here, and you'll see it's just this really pretty warm brown with just a touch of a red undertone. On this side, we are going to our Sugar and Cream collection, to the OG bronzer, everyone's universal favorite, which is Bella bronzer. So we're just adding this above that contour line, hugging the contour line for sure so that everything's seamless. Adding it up here. Can do a little down the neck. How awful could my timing be? I think they're actually also like edging. There's a massive edging tool out there. I'm sorry, guys. So I went ahead and added Bella to this arm of swatches so you can see how the look is coming together. So you'll see it's a little bit more sheer and a little bit more bronzy. And then we have Velvet with our berry collection, and that one is a little bit deeper, a little bit less of a sheen to it, and has a little bit more of a red undertone. For lip and cheeks, we're gonna have some fun. This is Jam and Pinky from the Lip Tints. We're gonna mix them together to create this beautiful rose tone tint for the cheeks. And this combo is so pretty. This is Jam and Pinky, and it gives this beautiful rosy flush. Now I'm gonna take my main highlight brush, maybe tap just a little bit on the edge of the brush, and now I'm gonna soften that line around the eye and around the front here. Isn't that so pretty? Okay, let me do a swatch. So again, we took Jam and Pinky, mixed them together. I did it on the back of my hand, and this is the final like rosy flush that you're gonna get. I am gonna top this look with Summer Love, which was from the Roses collection, just to add a little bit, kind of a soft focus touch. And finally, Angel Illuminator from the Cream and Sugar collection. Adding to the swatch is Summer Love and Angel Illuminator. So this is our look on the berry side, using lots of products from the releases over the last, 4 to 6 months. Now I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, except I'm only going to use Poppy. No mixing this time. I'm going to work it into my brush, and that's what we're gonna use for a cheek tint over here, as well as our lip tint. So this is Poppy. I'm gonna top this with Boardwalk. Boardwalk is from the Cream and Sugar collection. It's also been a staple shade of ours for a long time. So there we have Boardwalk over Poppy. And then I did want to take one of our more warm golden illuminators. Angel's going to be pink with a little bit of a cool undertone. This is Nova, so it's going to have more of a bronzy, warm undertone just to kind of complete this warm look. And I already swatched them. So this is Poppy, Boardwalk, and Nova. And there we have the warm peachy tone look. I did go ahead and soften the edges with my main highlight shade, just like I did on the other side. And I put on some lip liner. And now I'm just doing one final set around the eyes. So we're really gonna have that luminosity on the cheeks, but I'm setting down and blurring these areas right here. So our lips are lined. I'm gonna grab Poppy on this side, which is this shade right here. I'm gonna wipe it off. And we're gonna do half and half, because I mean, that's what we've been doing the whole time, right? And then over here, we have Pinky mixed with Jam. And we're gonna duplicate that rose tone on this side. So over here, we have more of that mauve-y rose. And on this side, we're gonna have more of that corally cherry to match each side of the face. I'm gonna let these set down for a couple minutes, and then I'll probably add a little bit of hydration with the lip whip, and we will be completely done. Hopefully this was a really good review of all of the different products and releases and how-to and some creative ways to think about putting all of your new makeup over the last 6 months together. So you have to let me know, do you like these types of videos where we come back and we review and recreate looks with other products that you may have already had? Because I don't want you to buy it and then set it aside. So I want this to be able to be a place where you come and you feel inspired to use what you have, decide what you need and how it can all go together. There we have it, lip whip is on. So we have this juicy looking lip. Okay, tell me, are we leaning more of the warm corally neutrals, that peach tone, or do we like berry, mauve, kind of that deeper tone? You guys have to let me know which of the looks is your favorite. As always, thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this week's video, and we'll see you next week.